All right, I'm really excited for today's one. Please like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. Let's get straight into it. We'll talk more about that later on the video, but let's go into blueprints. How many might you be able to get during the first initial beta stage of the Illuvium Zero game? So for those that don't remember, when Illuvium Zero comes out, there will be a period where Illuvium Zero is out before the main game. You will not be able to earn anything through fuel and that sort of stuff. When the main game comes out, everything is going to be reset. However, one thing is going to stay, and that is blueprints. These are NFTs that you can use later on when the game comes out to craft skins that you can sell to other players, sell the blueprint, do whatever you want. Basically, you can create your own cosmetic items and sell them to other players. So that's really, really exciting. And there will be a limited run of these blueprints that will exist in that middle period before the main game comes out. So it's all very exciting. I've done lots of speculation on the amount of blueprints you might be able to acquire as you go through this process, how it might affect the different plots and kind of the sort of things you should be looking for. Now, we don't have all the data, but what I am pretty confident is the process on how blueprints work and the probabilities and how they sort of function. Now, obviously, a lot of that is subject to change. Nothing is set in stone and things might have already changed. But the beauty of this is I've built it in such a way that I can easily adjust it and fix it as we go. And if things change, then I'll make updated videos. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Hit the bell down there so you don't miss anything. I'm going to have a lot of information on Illuvium Land as it comes out because I'm particularly excited to play the game. So I'm going to be all over this stuff. If you guys want to be informed, stay tuned to this channel. So the first thing I need to really quickly describe is how it works, or what my understanding of it working is. If I'm wrong, leave a comment down below. I'll fix it. We'll update it. We'll get through this, all right? But simply put, there's this flow chart, right? And what it basically describes is you go through and you will scan for an alluvial. Now I have cut one of these steps out. I've kind of combined the two, but in this case, you'll scan for an alluvial. It's my understanding that the chance to find an alluvial in general is actually really high. You're going to find one most of the time. For example, if you're in Abyssal Basin, you'll on a Halcyon Sea, you'll probably find an atlas kind of roaming around on your land, right? Then what you will do is you will go into the blueprint research facility and you will have a choice. I think you just have to scan for a blueprint. You'll say, yes, I want to scan for an atlas blueprint, hit scan. And you might find something, a weapon skin or an armor skin or something like that. Again, all cosmetic, not going to create a pay to win system here. But you'll scan for that. And the idea of that is that it's going to start off really easy to get, and then it's going to progressively get harder. But the idea is that will be actually the harder part to be successful. And again, I've conflated these two steps. The big factor I have worked into my thing is two major factors. Firstly, the quantity is important because it relates to this second bit, right? So if there are a pool of 1,000 skins of tier 1, let's say, and the game knows you're going to find a tier 1 skin, and then say it's an Atlas Shield 3, okay? And you find that, you scan it, you research it, you get it. Right, you've got an Atlas Shield 3. If your account, your specific land plot, you transfer it to someone else, they're going to take all this with them. Your specific land plot finds that Atlas Shield 3 again just by chance. I mean, it'd be a low chance if it was 1 in 1,000. But if it finds that Atlas Shield 3 again, it will fail. So the idea is that over time, your chance to acquire or research a blueprint will slowly decline. There are probably other factors that cause it to decline, but I don't know them yet. But that will be the main one. And this will be particularly visual when it comes to the higher tiers. So say there's only 20 or 30 tier 5s. As soon as one of them's gone, that's like 5%, well, probably less, like 4% you just lost in overall chance to acquire it. So let's go through my stats. I'm sorry for the long lead in. I just wanted to make sure we're all across how this works. So basically, I have a few key components in here. Where's my zoom? All right. I have starting blueprints. Now, these are all variable. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, if we can get 200 likes on this video, I know we can freaking do that. I will put this spreadsheet out for everyone to test out and run all their own numbers. There's so many variables to mess around with here. I'd love to see what you guys come up with. but let's get this to 200 likes. Let's make this an epic, huge video. My views have been going down, but I know we can do this. All right, guys. Anyways, at the moment, what I've got it set to is tier 1 is a 45% chance to find, when you find a blueprint, that it's a tier 1 blueprint. 25% for tier 2, 15 for tier 3, 10% for tier 4, and 5% for tier 5. We can mess around with these numbers, but really, the higher you raise that tier 1, a tier 5 gets really low when you start kind of balancing it out. The other side of this is quantity. Now, we don't know if they're going to be directly correlated. So if it's a 45% chance to find a tier 1, maybe 45% of the existing blueprints of tier 1, but I don't think they're going to correlate that strictly. But at the moment, I've got 1,000 tier 1, 300 tier 2, 200 tier 3, 100 tier 4, and 50 tier 5. And then the other big element here is actually the success rate. So the success rate is basically, if you do find one of these things, what are the chances that you're successful in acquiring it? And then it's also got to calculate for ones you've already found, stuff like that. And I've got that all built in here. It took me a while, let's put it that way. The other factor we have to look at here is tier speed. And we're going to chat about that quickly. I wanted to mention that before, but it's probably a good time now. Basically, the big thing, there's a bunch of threads, and I think Aaron was the one that mostly illuminated this whole topic, right? Basically, the idea is that tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4 are probably going to produce blueprints at basically the same rate. The caveat here is that tier 1 is going to take a lot longer to max out its overall production and stuff and get to that stage where it's producing a lot of blueprints, whereas a tier 2, 3, and 4 will get to that stage a lot faster. So we have to factor that in. I didn't want to factor that in, but it's really important. So in this current example, I've got tier 1 starting at the 40th day in. I've actually only got this set for 2 months. I think it's like August and September is what my chart's going to be set at. You'll see that in a second. Tier 2 starting at day 20, tier 3 day 10, and tier 4 day 5. And again, all customizable. You can mess around with them. So you can see down here, these are all the calculations I've done. If we get it to 200 likes, leave comments down below as well. And tell me if you want more months to be added to this. It'll take me a little while to do it, but I can add 2 or 3 more months maybe to get a bit more data happening. But I don't think there'll be more than 2 months between the game and the main game launch. So that's kind of why I've done it this way. Basically, you can even see things like the success rate. I've built that in as well, kind of like just the average success rate that you're getting whenever you're going through the process. Now, the last thing we need to discuss with my spreadsheet is that I actually have a random number generator, okay? Anytime I pretty much enter any key, it's going to regenerate these numbers right here, which are basically like the brains of this entire spreadsheet. So you'll see it'll change them all. My success rate 68%, change them, 82, 68, 68, 86, 68. So some months you're getting luckier than others, okay? So the more lands you have, it's probably going to start to average out. From what I've seen from my spreadsheet, probably around the 75% success rate mark. But that goes down a little bit as you get to the other plots because you have more days included, which just lowers the success rate a little bit naturally. I've got all the rest of them. You can see all that. So we'll get to the fun part. I've got charts because you guys could already see that information was a lot. All right, so let's start off with the tier 1 blueprint. So I've kept the scales for these all really similar. And again, this all changes every single time I hit a key. It's really cool how these random number generators work. So they're all on the same scale, so it's been really visually easy to see what's going on. So again, it starts about 60% of the way down the chart because it's starting on day 40. And in this case, it gets to about 19 blueprints total, most of them being on the T1 blueprint side. So you're getting a lot of T1s in all of these, but the more days you have inclusive in this bracket, the higher chance you're going to have of getting those rarer blueprints, if that makes sense, guys. There's also blueprint stages. That is for another video. Let's table that for now. No T5s in this one. T5 particularly hard to get with the stats I put in here. So if we see one, then good for us. And this in particular had an 86% success rate. This next one had a 70% success rate. Got close to 30 blueprints, a lot of a surprising amount of T4s, and not many T3s. You can see how random this can be. It's insane. You should see me trying to refresh this all the time. And there's so many T1s and T2s. So Got a really good spread of T1s and T2s on the T2 plot. The T3 plot, you get a much more even spread. There's just so much more data to include. The spread evens out naturally significantly more. You're going to trust me on that. I've been looking at these charts quite a bit now. So in the end of it, you're hitting about 35 blueprints, which is pretty decent. Quite a few T4 and T3. T3 actually outnumbered T4 this time, which you would expect normally. The more you refresh these things, you'll see that the patterns start to form how you would expect them to. There's not too many surprises. No T5s at all this time around. But here's the T4 plot, and you're getting closer to the 40 mark, which is the highest one we had. So you can see that as we go further on, you are getting more blueprints out. Quite a few T1 in this. So if we refresh this a few times, maybe we try and get a T5 blueprint. There we go. We got one T5 blueprint now. It took me about 5 refreshes. You had 5 plots, maybe you get a T5 blueprint once. But it's a pretty balanced spread overall. Refresh it a few more times. You're getting some T5s on the T3 plot as well. And yeah, you're starting to see the T5s a bit more often now. So they pop up every now and then. On the last day, you get a T5 on the T3 plot. T2 plot is actually quite balanced for the most part. I have refreshed it quite a few times. It's pretty decent, but sometimes it doesn't get a T4. But T1 is not super balanced. I don't know if it's going to take 40 days to get to that point. Hopefully it'll be less, but if it does take quite some time, T1s aren't going to get you heaps of those limited blueprints. But they're going to be great when the main game launches. If you have like a stack of them, they're going to do a really good job, because once they hit that 40-day mark, if the days keep extending, then the T1s are ultimately going to be your best bang for your buck, from what we've heard in the Discord. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. There was a lot of information to digest there. Blueprints are going to be crazy, and I'm excited to keep doing this work on them. So please like and subscribe. Again, 200 likes, I'll put out the spreadsheet. It'll be awesome. Don't forget to check out my newsletter. It'll be in the description. Edition 2 is coming out soon. It's really awesome. I had a lot of fun writing that one. Have a good day, guys. Thanks for watching the video, guys, and don't forget to watch this next video down there in the bottom left-hand. Wait. It's doing that thing again. Wait. It's happening again. Oh, crap. Happened again.